Welcome, deep divers. We are opening a stack of sources today that detail just this seismic collapse of three major deceptions, all converging on the same chaotic week.
That's right.
We are diving into the world of, well, intense emotional fallout, high stakes relationship trauma, and some really jaw dropping family tree additions.
Exactly. We're dissecting the tumultuous events leading up to and covering the week of September 29th through October 3rd in Bold and the Beautiful.
Mhm.
Our sources show that when these long-held secrets like lies lie about Luna, Will's whole concealment thing, and Sheila's latest manipulation, when they all unravel simultaneously,
Yeah.
the consequence is just a fundamental shift in the power dynamic across, the Finnegans, the Spencers, and the Forresters. It's huge.
Our mission today is to distill this incredibly complicated, interconnected web. We need to go beyond just the surface plot points. We need to extract the source analysis on who is facing professional ruin, who is fundamentally betraying their partner, and how one Dr. Finn is about to receive, well, the most shocking and unwelcome familial promotion to Grandpa.
Hmm. The dramatic tension is just profound because these aren't isolated incidents of deception. They are absolutely linked. You've got Ly's involvement in Luna's recovery, right? Which connects to Luna's eventual return,
Okay.
which directly facilitates Will's secret being exposed. And all of this is kind of shrouded by Sheila's knowing silence. The sources confirm that this convergence is the engine driving the massive consequences this week.
Massive indeed. The central themes emerging from our sources are pretty stark. Grandpa Finn shocked, Will dumped, and this overwhelming presence of deception on the horizon.
Hmm.
But before we get to the main earthquake, we have to look at the immediate crisis unfolding in the days leading up to it, specifically September 24th through the 26th.
Right. We should probably begin with the newest pairing that's drawn, well, considerable attention and critical analysis in our sources, Remy and Dee. This relationship is functioning as a crucial piece of connective tissue for the larger drama involving Luna.
Okay, let's unpack the ongoing remedy controversy then. According to the sources, Wednesday, September 24th was defined by this explicit act of reassurance. Luna showed up at their shared apartment, which was clearly described as, problematic for the couple. But Remy quickly and decisively sent her away. He reaffirmed his dedication to Dee, reassured her of their deep bond, made a point of it.
And what's critical here, and what the source has spent quite a bit of time analyzing, is the meta-narrative controversy surrounding Remy's character. There's a strong feeling in the analysis that the writers are performing an extremely aggressive narrative pivot here.
A pivot? How so?
They seem to be actively trying to minimize Remy's past actions toward Elektra actions, which the sources categorize as so awful and, frankly, deeply manipulative, in a rush to make him seem like a viable redemptive partner for Dee.
Wait a minute. When the sources say his past actions were so awful, can we establish what that actually means? It sounds like they're trying to fast-track redemption for a character who maybe really crossed a line. Are we talking standard love triangle stuff or something structurally worse?
The sources definitely suggest the latter. Remy's history wasn't just being a bad boyfriend. It was characterized by calculated emotional warfare against Elektra, using subtle gaslighting, undermining her relationships, all to serve his own manipulative ends.
Wow.
He was actively destructive in a way that, viewers found deeply irredeemable at the time. The sources suggest that if they really intended to build a serious, stable relationship between Remy and Dee, it would have been structurally much sounder to introduce Dee with a genuinely new character, someone without that baggage.
So the critique is that forcing this redemption arc onto Remy despite the actor's talent presumably creates a fundamental flaw. It feels like the writers are trying to, sanitize a character built on really cynical foundations?
Pretty much.
Does the source suggest the audience is buying this rush job? Or is this a structural problem that's going to undermine the new pairing even if they seem happy right now?
The analysis points toward a major structural hurdle. I mean, even if Remy sends Luna away now, the specter of his past actions remains. Luna, having been close to him and knowing his history, she remains this walking, talking reminder of that cynicism.
Right.
The source concludes that Brad Bill seems to enjoy attempting to redeem the irredeemable. But in this case, Remy's history is likely to continue being a personal and professional obstacle for both Remy and Dee, regardless of his current attempts to distance himself. That ghost of Luna's history and his own past behavior, it's going to perpetually hover over their apartment.
Okay, so that structural issue now leads directly into the escalating chaos involving Deacon. This is where the communication chain just completely breaks down, doesn't it, and causes a severe reaction.
Precisely. Deacon, while he's at Il Giardino, overhears just a snippet of conversation between his son Dee and Remy. He catches the alarming discussion about Luna's unexpected appearance at their shared home and notes how stunned the couple was by her presence. Like, totally thrown.
And based on this partial alarming conversation, Deacon makes this massive flawed leap in logic. This single assumption drives the immediate plot forward. He doesn't think Dee is in relationship peril, does he?
No, not at all.
He immediately assumes that Sheila is the one in danger, that his wife is entirely in the dark about Luna being alive and back in town, maybe thinking Luna's somehow threatening her.
And that contrast between what the viewer knows and Deacon's assumption is absolutely critical for the dramatic irony here. We in the viewer know Sheila is the opposite of in the dark. She was instrumental in aiding Luna alongside Lean, right?
Yeah.
But Deacon's fundamental belief that Sheila is innocent and unaware spurs him into action, protective action.
And that action is immediate. This suspicion leads directly to Thursday, September 25th. Deacon confronts Sheila. He demands the whole entire story about Luna. He's approaching this conversation from a position of defense, trying to protect her, totally unaware that he should probably be protecting himself from her deception.
If he only knew the depth of her involvement, sighs. While Deacon is confronting the deeply deceptive Sheila, another major deception is reaching its climax. Will's desperate scramble to salvage his relationship with Elektra.
Right, Will is in total damage control mode. But the problem is, Elektra was already at her breaking point. She was already furious when Will had confessed only to the generic infidelity sleeping with another girl the night before he took her virginity. That initial admission was just the tip of a terrifying, complicated iceberg.
He faces the impossible task of delivering this nuclear 1-2 punch by Friday, September 26th, its deadline. First, he has to confess that the girl wasn't just some anonymous fling. It was Luna. Second, he has to reveal that Luna is now pregnant with his child. That second part, it transforms infidelity into a permanent, undeniable familial connection.
That is a truly devastating, irreversible revelation. And the sources stress the necessity of this Friday deadline, right?
They do.
Will needs to get it all out on the table. So Elektra has the entire weekend to just begin processing the magnitude of the lie, the sheer betrayal, and the physical reality of the consequences now carrying his child.
That's a whole lot, as the source puts it.
Yeah,
quite an understatement. It brings us right into the central heartbreak of the week of September 29th, Elektra's absolute breaking point.
She was operating under the belief that Luna was out of their lives for good. The shock of Luna being alive is one thing.
Right.
But the compounding factors of Will keeping the secret and Luna carrying his child transforms the infidelity into an intentional act of relationship sabotage. It feels deliberate.
And this is where we really need to spend some time analyzing the layered deception, because the sources draw a very clear and I think interesting distinction regarding where Will's true unforgivable fault lies. It's not just the sex itself, it's the act of concealment afterwards.
Okay, let's unpack this thoroughly, because this is the moral gray area the sources highlight. What is Will not fully culpable for, according to them, and what is the specific unforgivable sin that likely ends the relationship?
Okay, so the sources suggest he is not entirely responsible for the original transgression. The drunk sex happened while he's wearing a mask.
The mask, right.
Indicating a level of identity confusion or maybe just high inebriation that suggests compromised judgment. And the pregnancy is seen as an accidental consequence of that one masked event. It's kind of the classic soap trope where mitigating circumstances are applied to the core mistake.
Wait a second, though. The sources suggest that drunk sex isn't entirely his fault. That does seem like a classic soap cop-out. Are they suggesting the mask itself holds responsibility here, or just the level of inebriation? Is it just saying boys will be boys when drunk?
Well, they emphasize the masking event and the high degree of inebriation to categorize it more as an accident, a mistake he made while not fully cognizant of who he was with or what he was doing. It was an event defined by momentary chaos, is how they frame it. However, and this is the key part, that interpretation only mitigates the act, not the cover-up.
And the cover-up is the betrayal that Elektra cannot forgive.
Exactly. That is entirely on Will. His specific unforgivable sin, according to the sources, is the deliberate, calculated lie he maintained over a significant period. And the added cruel twist is that he went beyond just lying. He actively crawled in her bed knowing what he did the night before he took her virginity.
Oh, that's brutal. So the distinction is between an accidental consequence and a calculated, sustained betrayal. He could have confessed immediately, maybe sought forgiveness, but by choosing to consummate his relationship with Electra while harboring that secret, he tainted their entire foundation.
Yes.
That is the line that Electra simply cannot uncross.
That sustained deceit is deemed too much for Electra. The sources strongly predict that this will result in a separation or splitting during the week of September 29th. She realizes the depth of his moral failing and, the permanence of the consequence, the baby.
And this separation is made instantly more complicated by Luna
Right.
just waiting in the wings, right?
Absolutely. Here's the crucial detail that ensures this breakup is not a clean separation period. Luna remains determined to marry Will. She is actively maneuvering, ready to step right into the gap created by Electra's departure.
So, while the sources predict the split might not be permanent, Luna's aggressive goal ensures that Wills can't just have space to process his actions or, attempt to rebuild trust with Electra.
Not a chance.
He's under constant active pressure and threat from Luna's maneuvering, which prevents any easy path back to Electra.
That is the definition of relationship toxicity right there.
Hmm.
Now, if Will is losing Electra, Deacon is desperately trying to hold on to Sheila, whose own monumental deception is about to blow up their marriage. Let's shift to the shifting alliances and emotional fallout spurred by this lunar resurgence.
Okay, the Deacon and Sheila marriage crisis. It kicks off with Deacon's confrontation on Thursday. We discussed his flawed assumption.
Yeah.
But what does the source analysis identify as the potential clue that betrays Sheila immediately? What gives her away?
It's her visible reaction, or rather, her lack thereof. Deacon tells her Luna is alive, right? Expecting shock, maybe fear. And Sheila shows a notable lack of surprise. That lack of shock is the red flag. It immediately proves Deacon's assumption that she was innocently in the dark was entirely wrong. It screams complicity.
Her lack of surprise instantly flags her as being aware, maybe even involved. This raises the question, has Sheila pushed Deacon too far this time? She secured her pardon, seemed to settle down, and yet she went right back to deep intentional deception regarding a life-or-death scenario involving Luna.
The sources definitely suggest this is a massive trust violation that jeopardizes everything they've built. I mean, Deacon committed to her, fought the world to keep her free.
Right.
And she immediately rewarded his faith by withholding critical information about a major, complex plot point involving his family's safety. Luna's return affects them. This deception puts their marriage in immediate jeopardy, despite her inevitable attempts to rationalize her behavior by claiming she was just protecting him or something.
And we know she's trying to rationalize it, because the sources confirm that during the week of September 29th, Sheila will be pleading with Deacon to try and hold their marriage together. She'll be fighting tooth and nail to maintain the stability that her pardon afforded her, recognizing that losing Deacon means losing her connection to legitimacy, basically.
Now, this chaos, coupled with the pressure from Will's confession fallout impacting the Spencers, sends Deacon looking for a stable emotional outlet. Which leads us to the most unexpected and, frankly, professionally fraught pairing mentioned in the sources, Deacon and Taylor.
Okay, here is where it gets really interesting, because it highlights a potential ethical crisis, doesn't it? The setup is complex. Brooke visits Taylor, expressing concern that Taylor's current stability post-Ridge could change rapidly. Brooks worried Taylor, having recently stabilized after the heartbreak of losing Ridge again, might be vulnerable to new drama, like a concerned friend, almost.
And while Brooke is offering that supportive, quasi-sisterly support, Deacon arrives at Taylor's office. Why? To unload his considerable Sheila and Luna frustrations. He's looking for professional solace and guidance in the face of his marriage collapsing and renewed danger around Luna.
Now, Taylor's a doctor. She operates under strict professional codes. Her initial professional instinct, which the sources highlight, is to advise him to get another therapist. Why is this so crucial?
Because a doctor absolutely cannot open up emotionally and maintain a therapeutic relationship with a patient who is struggling with such intense personal issues like this. The ethical boundaries are, or should be, absolute. Offering emotional or personal advice outside the therapeutic context, particularly in a soap environment like this, is risking her license. It's a huge no-no.
But we are in a world of dramatic possibilities, and the source analysis suggests they pivot immediately. Deacon might realize the professional wall is up and pivot.
Okay, if you can't be my therapist, can you just be my friend? I just need someone to talk to.
And that pivot is the precise moment the ethical crisis begins. The sources speculate that they will bond deeply over their mutual experiences of heartache and betrayal. Taylor over Ridge and her complicated past. Deacon over Sheila's never-ending deception. Shared wounds.
So the immediate forecast is that they'll end the formal doctor-patient relationship but transition into a much, much messier connection. The speculation here is that they become friends with mental health benefits, bonding over shared trauma and deep emotional vulnerability. Is that the idea? That's exactly the phrase used, and it's a significant trajectory shift for both characters. It moves Taylor away from her carefully constructed stability post-Ridge and throws Deacon into an emotional relationship outside his crumbling marriage. The sources clearly foreshadow that this path from friends with mental health benefits carries the inherent possibility of transitioning into, well, the other kind of benefits as well.
Wow, the stakes are enormous, not just emotionally, but professionally for Taylor. We're talking about her potentially violating years of professional rigor for emotional comfort. This suggests a powerful, perhaps irresistible pull between two characters who are equally wounded and seeking genuine connection. Or maybe just making bad choices.
Absolutely. And while Deacon is navigating this complex new dynamic and trying to sort out his love life, he is simultaneously leaning heavily on his son Deke, as his own marriage with Sheila falls apart, needs family support.
His proximity to Deke, however, reawakens old, specific fears tied directly to Luna's return. Deacon has a dark history connected to Luna's previous actions, doesn't he?
He does. Luna's dramatic reappearance reminds Deacon of the two friends he lost directly at her hands previously. This is a deep-seated trauma for him, so now he worries that his son Dee may also be at risk of being drawn into Luna's destructive orbit, history repeating itself.
And the specific risk factor he sees is Remy.
Correct? Deacon worries because Remy, Dee's current boyfriend, was once close to Luna. The pattern of destruction associated with Luna appears to be repeating itself, and Deacon is now hyper-vigilant about protecting his family, seeing threats everywhere Luna's influence touches. This creates a deeply concerned father-son dynamic, as they both face different aspects of the same crisis.
Speaking of protection and fathers in crisis, let's turn our attention to the Spencer patriarch, Bill, who is grappling with massive guilt and entering full damage control mode.
Yeah, Bill's response is two-pronged: physical security and emotional reparations. On the physical front, he's beefing up security at the mansion. He knows Luna will likely make a beeline for Will to press her advantage now that Elektra is separating from him.
Protecting Will is his absolute priority, physically and emotionally. Makes sense.
But the emotional side is arguably the bigger driver for Bill right now. He is apparently graveling to Katie.
Graveling? Why the extreme guilt?
Because he is convinced that Luna's previous pardon, which he successfully obtained for her, was the key action that set all these current disastrous events in motion. He feels entirely responsible for bringing this particular chaos back into their lives, threatening his son Will.
It's the classic Bill Spencer guilt spiral, where he views himself as the architect of destruction. Okay. What's truly fascinating, though, is Katie's immediate and, well, extreme reaction to this new crisis.
Oh, yeah. She is demanding definitive, almost violent action.
Drastic indeed. The sources detail that Katie urges Bill to put a stop to evil Luna. She potentially even suggests measures that are highly dramatic, even for a soap opera, like Bill physically shoving Luna off the balcony.
Whoa.
What does this reveal about Katie's mindset right now? That's pretty intense.
It reveals utter panic and a desire for absolute finality, doesn't it? Katie sees Luna as this evil force that cannot simply be managed or reasoned with. She must be removed entirely and permanently, maybe violently. She wants Bill to use his formidable power to just erase the problem, go full Spencer on it.
Yet, the spoilers suggest a counterintuitive outcome to this moment of shared trauma. The analysis predicts that despite Katie's fierce desire for immediate, definitive action against Luna, she may actually be more understanding toward Bill than he expects.
Yes. False spoilers suggest that Bill and Katie are actually expected to get closer while navigating the intensity of the Will crisis. Their unified effort to protect their son apparently draws them back together. The shared objective of stopping Luna may ironically mend their fences, proving that sometimes shared trauma acts as a relationship glue. Weirdly.
And Katie isn't alone in her protective instincts, right? Like, Sermana also wants to stop Luna's scheming before she whips apart any more lives, especially considering the chaos Luna is about to inflict directly on the Finnegan family.
Which brings us to the main event, the true earthquake that hits the Finnegan household and shifts the dynamics of the entire family. Finn's shock and Steffi's impending wrath. This is the moment Finn earns the title Grandpa. Poor guy.
The sources describe Finn's emotional state as absolutely distraught. He is facing a profound, double-edged betrayal here. First, he discovers his mother, Lai, not only saved Luna, but actively lied to him about it, potentially for months.
That is a fundamental betrayal of trust from the person who literally gave him life. It's devastating. He has to process his mother's deep deception simultaneously with the technical status update this provides for his family. Because if Luna's pregnancy goes full term and all signs point to it, Finn will suddenly become a grandfather.
The gravity of this cannot be overstated. Finn goes from stable, married, successful doctor to a grandfather overnight, all because of his mother's lies and a masked incident involving Will Spencer.
It's staggering,
Yeah.
and the complexity doesn't stop with Finn. This scenario technically makes Steffi, Finn's wife, the step-grandmother of the child Luna's carrying.
Oh my God.
The sources are very clear. This news is not going to go over well at the Finnegan household. For Steffi, who is intensely protective and has worked so hard for stability, this unwanted family complication stemming entirely from Finn's side is a catastrophe.
It fundamentally changes the entire dynamic of their marriage and family structure, and it perfectly sets the stage for Steffi's impending return, doesn't it?
Perfectly.
We know she began filming in early September, expected back on screen early to mid-October, walking right back into a husband who is now a sudden, shocked grandpa, thanks entirely to his mother's deception.
She is walking directly into the fire. However, the sources indicate that her immediate wrath isn't reserved only for Lai or Luna, which is interesting. Steffi is expected to give her father, Ridge, a piece of her mind very loudly, confronting him with her wrath.
That is a fascinating displacement of emotion, why Ridge. He's currently described as happily remarried to Brooke and living out his destiny. He seems to be the most stable, least chaotic figure in her immediate world right now.
It speaks to the psychological reality of emotional displacement, I think. Steffi is returning home to find her foundational support, her husband, her immediate family unit, utterly shattered. Her husband is suffering, her mother-in-law is the culprit, and her life is now irrevocably linked to Luna's child through Finn.
And simultaneously, she returns to a father who is comfortably settled and happy, and a mother, Taylor, who is off contemplating what her new life will look like post-Ridge. The contrast must be jarring.
Exactly. Steffi's wrath toward Ridge may be a safer outlet for the intense rage she feels about the chaos in her own marriage. Ridge's stability and happiness, while her family is imploding, might be perceived as symptomatic of the disarray and pain felt by her mother and now by herself. She may be subconsciously holding Ridge responsible for the overall instability of the Forrester-Logan-Finnegan orbit, even if he's currently happy.
So, the central insight here is that Steffi's return is less about the fashion line or Forrester creations and more about a seismic emotional reckoning across multiple generations. Her anger is boiling over, and Ridge just happens to be the easiest, safest, and most prominent target in the Forrester camp for her to unload on.
It seems entirely about the catastrophic consequences of old lies finally being exposed and the unfair distribution of emotional fallout. Steffi returns not to peace, but to a life where her husband is now grappling with the fact that his mother betrayed him and forced him into an unwanted, immediate grandfather role. It's a mess.
Well, deep divers, we have navigated an incredible, complex matrix of relationship landmines and exposed secrets here. Let's quickly synthesize the biggest shocks that are about to hit our screens during this crucial week.
Okay. We covered Will's devastating deception fallout, that calculated betrayal that ensures a lasting wedge between him and Elektra, fueled aggressively by Luna's determination to force a marriage.
Yep. We analyzed the unexpected possibility of a Deacon and Taylor shift, moving past a professional relationship and potentially into that dangerous friends with benefits territory, as Deacon's already fragile marriage with Sheila teeters on the edge of collapse due to her latest deception.
And, of course, the monumental upheaval in the Finnegan family. Finn being betrayed by his mother, Lai, and suddenly becoming a distraught grandfather to Luna's child, which sets the stage for Steffi's furious return and her directed wrath toward Ridge.
The structural and ethical complexity of these interconnected secrets analyzed through our sources is truly remarkable. But as we close this deep dive, there's one final provocative thought you want to leave you with. It connects all these family lines and focuses on the implications for Steffi.
Right. Consider this. Finn is reeling from the immediate, visceral betrayal of his mother, Lai, and the shocking reality of sudden grandfatherhood via Luna. He's in pieces. If Steffi returns home and sees her husband reeling from this double dose of chaos, how much of her impending wrath that she directs at Ridge, who is happily remarried and stable, is actually a deeply displaced reaction? A reaction to the total destruction and betrayal happening within her own marriage and family unit. Is her anger with her father a safe outlet for the rage she feels about having to return to a life where her husband is now an accidental, distraught grandpa because of his own mother's actions?
It definitely makes you wonder how long any character can maintain stability when old lies just keep resurfacing to burn new bridges. Something to mull over until our next deep dive.
Thank you for joining us as we explored the very sticky, complex truth contained within these sources. It was a lot to unpack.
We'll see you next time.